Hey Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline fans. You're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do episode number 2 of Pay It or Slay It. That's right, guys. This is the video or comic book overview series where I show you 10 comic books of the week that I read, and I make a decision if you should pay it or you should slay the book. Now, every once in a while, you might see me hate a book so bad that I will actually slay it right here in front of the camera. Whether it's eating it, tearing it, cutting it, putting it on fire, throwing it in a toilet bowl, who knows? You never know what you're going to get. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the first episode, and based off of the comments, you guys really did. So let's get started with episode number 2, and let's start with the first comic this week. And the first one goes to Action Comics, issue number 962. Now, Superman has been greatly improved since the end of the New 52, going into Rebirth. And this book has been a delight overall, where it has Wonder Woman and Superman teaming up to take on Doomsday. Well, the only thing that this book has really suffered from has been the length of the story. It just seems like we've been fighting Doomsday, and there's never been a real meaty part of this story. And you're kind of wondering throughout this first story arc, what's going to happen to Doomsday? How is Superman going to prevail? And who is the mysterious character in the hood? Well, in this book, in the last issue, you wound up seeing where it looked like Doomsday was finally going to be captured. And this Mr. Oz character might reveal himself to be the greater plot of this story going forward. But little did you know that, of course, Doomsday winds up escaping this trap. And we wind up seeing Superman throughout this last part of the story arc battle Doomsday once again. This has been a reoccurring thing for me when it comes to this story, and it's kind of driven me crazy. Wonder Woman has actually been hanging around in the wings, waiting, protecting Lois and actually John in this matter. And Superman winds up getting Doomsday in his makeshift home base or whatnot. I'm drawing a blank of what the hell you call it. His Fortress of Solitude, sorry. And he winds up having to make this makeshift Phantom Zone thing. And after a little permission from Lois to say, hey, you can leave us, John and I will be fine, Superman and Wonder Woman team up to take on Doomsday, and yes, they send him to the Phantom Zone, and basically that's how the issue ends. You get a little wrap-up with Superman and Lex talking about how they're going to have future talks about, him being the hero and Lex Luthor trusting him on him being the real Superman. We still don't have certain answers when it comes to who the mysterious Clark Kent is. And by the time you wind up getting to the final part of this issue, we wind up seeing that the hooded character winds up capturing Doomsday in the book. I thought this book was pretty good, but I thought it was a little lackluster at the end. It was something that we've already seen in the previous, I think, 5 issues of Action Comics since it's come. Sure, it's great to see Doomsday. Sure, it was great to see Superman more in a traditional way, but I just felt like this just ended. It never really accomplished anything. The only thing that it accomplished was Doomsday was supposedly sent away, but we never got any more answers to our questions. We never got answers to, Lex and Luthor's relationship. We never got who the mysterious hooded character is, even though a lot of us have our speculations. We never got that plot unfold. The next issue, though, however, looks like it's going to explore the whole Clark situation. As it says, look down on the grounds, it's a guy, he's kind of a plane, he's Clark Kent. So it looks like they'll be addressing that situation in the next issue when it comes to Clark. Nevertheless, even though it was repetitive, it still was action-packed, and it had this nostalgia feel to it of Superman from the 90s. So I still enjoy it, and I got to give this one probably a 3.75, maybe 4 stars out of 5. Just a little bit repetitive for me. All right. So in the end, what I gotta say when it comes to Superman Action Comics issue number 962 is I definitely say pay for it, everybody. Pay for that book because it is overall a good series. All right. Next book we're going to talk about is actually Batgirl issue number 2. Now, Batgirl, I was kind of first issue, I'm wandering and I'm sitting there going, oh boy, you know, she's fighting this, you know, her idol was this fruit bat lady that was like 100 and something years old. She did this battle and she gave her this advice to move forward. You have to forget the past. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm like, I guess I'll give issue 2 a try, where it seemed just cheesy. So does this one get the pay or does this one get the slay? Well, we'll find out very shortly. In this book, it opens up with Batgirl actually trying to find out this mystery, and she's trying to find out this person that she did battle with. She's got this crazy tattoo, and she comes across this peeping Tom that was using this drone to, you know, peep on people or whatever it is and put them, you know, under arrest. But the cool thing about this book, and I say cool, was this relationship that Barbara's having with Kai, and she finds herself having mixed feelings because the fruit bat winds up sitting there going, forget the past and move forward. And this guy kind of wants this relationship with Babs. And so she struggles with this. They actually have an intimate moment with each other. They actually go and they rent a hotel together, and they have good times with each other. In the meantime, Babs is trying to find out what's going on, going through this whole fighting thing, this whole fighting tournament and whatnot, and she meets with this person that she wants to train with. And even though the artwork is a little bit off with me, I found the story was quite interesting. I liked seeing her kind of play down her fighting skills when she's doing her investigating with this person, and she winds up getting into this ring and this fighting match and whatnot. And it was cool kind of seeing her getting her ass handed to her in the book as well. She does this battle or this match in this cage match, and she winds up seeing that recognizable tattoo on there, and she winds up getting her ass knocked out. And she really did get her butt beat, and you know, she overestimated or underestimated her opponent in the book. I thought this was a good book. I really enjoyed it, actually. Much better than issue number 1. I like seeing her use her investigative skills to go in the ring and find out more of what was going on, and having her make a decision on if Kai is either good or bad news, or to stay or not to stay with him. So I thought this was an interesting issue, and I really, really enjoyed it. Much better than the first one. And the artwork is, again, a little bit on its downfall, but I like the whole fighting thing and all that stuff. So that was cool. So if you like Batgirl, I say pay it, guys. Pay for the book. Now, if you're not a Batgirl fan, then yeah, obviously stay away from it. But no shape or means that this is a poor book. And I'm actually liking this version of Batgirl than the whole Burnside Batgirl book when they totally flipped her around. This kind of has a nice mix between the characters. Alright, so the next book that we're actually going to talk about here is Green Lantern Corps, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. This is a book where Vendetti is getting another shot at writing this. Now, instead of Hal Jordan wearing the trench coat and having long hair and wearing a gauntlet, he tends to be this more traditional Green Lantern. And in this issue, we wind up seeing Guy Gardner going out and getting his hands dirty, trying to find out what's going on in the universe since all the Green Lantern Corps has been done. In the meantime, we see the Green Lantern Corps, the Yellow Lantern Corps taking over all the different parts of the universe. And it was funny because it was, at first it was like this ploy or this act saying, oh, we're going to be the protectors of the universe and whatnot. And basically they're just taking over the universe. And now they're able to, the more universe, or the more fear they instill within the universe, their Green Lantern Corps members wind up getting more stronger. This book has great artwork. I love the colors in there. And it was great to see Hal Jordan really battle in this issue. Because at first you thought, oh yeah, he's super strong. He's going to take on all these Yellow Corps members. And he even sits there and taunts them all. He sits there and goes, this is all you guys got? He's like, give me a break. He kind of tosses them aside here. And he's just, you know, he's got this smirk on his face. And he's just having a blast with it. And little do you know, though, as they take on more and more universes, all these, or more and more planets or sectors, we see the Yellow Corps members getting stronger and stronger. And slowly you start to see Hal Jordan lose this fight. And as he's trying to rescue all these people on this planet, all these slaves on this planet that they capture, he's just getting overwhelmed by the Yellow Corps members. But what this book really showed was the willpower that Hal Jordan really has. And at one point, we got to see that the Yellow Lantern Corps had 190% power level, and yet he fought so hard to break their grip. He actually broke free and almost tried saving a civilian. But once they got to their extreme power, he just could not withstand it anymore, and it's basically has captured him and took him out of commission. And that's how the issue ended. So I really liked this issue. It really felt more of a Hal Jordan type of book, how much willpower he has to save somebody, and that's the true Hal Jordan there. And then it really shows how evil the Yellow Corps members were and how much of an act the whole thing was in them protecting all the sectors. It was just so they could get the upper hand and instill the greatest fear and make them the ultimate power in the universe. So this was a really good book in my opinion. I had a lot of fun with it. In the end of it, guys, I say definitely if you're a Green Lantern Corps or a Green Lantern fan, I definitely say pay for the book and don't slay it. Alright, next book we're going to talk about today is Batman Detective Comics, issue 939. This is not a conclusion to this story arc, so this conclusion, or this story arc is actually going on longer than actually Action Comics. And I'm kind of sitting there going, okay, when is this going to end? Because we focus so heavily on Kate and Bruce in this one that the supporting cast members didn't really get that much attention in this series. Not the attention that they deserve. And I think people that were interested in this book were interested in those other characters, not just Batman and Kate. And the way this book opens up this time around is that it opens up flashing back on Bruce and Kate and showing, yes, they're cousins and going back to his father's death and Kate being there for him. And I did appreciate that moment. And then here it has a nice little heart-to-heart with Bruce and Kate about how Bruce did know about her father's operations. And Kate sat there and talked to Bruce and sat there and said, listen, we talked about it before. You said you weren't going to lie to me. I understand why you lied to me this point, but again, don't ever lie to me once again. So there was a good character moment between the two characters. Then I liked how the book actually did shift to some other characters in this book. We got a nice page with Stephanie and Tim in here about Tim actually leaving the group, about going somewhere else, about going into school or whatnot. And the one thing I wasn't keen on about the artwork in this issue was it had, you know, your traditional comic book art, and then it kind of went to this like airbrushed at one point. And I was like, that just doesn't fit with me. It kind of, I guess when it wanted to go to certain expressions, they just changed the focus on the art. And I get what they were going with, but I just didn't like it. It kind of interrupted the flow for me a little bit. So it's cool to see those character moments between those two. And then we wound up seeing how there was going to be another attack on the crew. So Tim Drake trying to maneuver his, use his smarts and his intellect to maneuver these drones or whatnot. And so what happens is you wind up seeing this, the battle really get intense really quickly, because we wind up finding out that in order to get these drones away from Batman and Kate and the other group, Tim winds up having him going to direct them all on him. So basically, he's sacrificing himself. And so we get to see the suspense really build, and we get to see Stephanie all concerned, and we get to see Batman. Bruce sits there and really goes to town, and he's just like, he's like, I gotta go. And Kate's like, don't say anything, just go. And we get to see Stephanie, going on the walkie-talkie, and she's just like, he reprogrammed the whole drone fleet. And she's like, code names, you can't sit there. And she's like, fuck the code names. She's like, you gotta go now. And I was like, dude, that was pretty cool. So there's, again, really good character moments, and by the end of it all, you wind up seeing Tim has all those killer drones on his tail. So I thought that was really cool. And then I think in the next issue, you're going to see this actually conclude. So I liked how this one focused. It had Bruce and Kate's focus moment there in the beginning. Then it had a Stephanie and Drake moment in there. And then you wind up seeing how it shifted to Tim in the end, in the love to go after him. The thing that this book lacks character development in so far is Clayface. You always see just one panel of him. Orphan, you only saw legitimately one panel of her. And it's like those characters are almost completely forgotten at this point. And Stephanie has a little larger role because she's the girlfriend, but she doesn't play a major role yet. So we'll see where that goes, and hopefully they get their own story arcs as it goes along. But as you guys know by now, Batman Detective Comics is a pay-it type of book. You must actually buy this book. And if you haven't yet, definitely go out and buy previous issues and get yourselves caught up, because this is a great book. So, one of my favorites of the week. Alright. Next we're going to talk about, it's The Flash. The Flash issue number 5. This book has been up and down for me. I don't know if I really enjoy it, or if when it starts to get good, I'm like, maybe the next issue will be better. And in this issue, I felt a little, I don't know, I felt a little flat about it for some reason. This was titled Barry's Day Off. And so, basically, what this issue brought you was, okay, you just won't see Barry in this issue. You're going to see his new girlfriend, Mina Darwin, I think is her name. And you wind up getting to see her little story here of how she's actually been, training the speedsters and whatnot. So it gives you a little rundown on there. And then it shows like a little date between the two. They're going out and they're holding hands and they're having a good, nice time, and they're having some fun. And then you all of a sudden you wind up seeing the mood shift, and then it goes to, Barry and Iris. And the artwork in this book is just, it just seems a little bit off for me. It just doesn't quite work. I don't know if it's the detail, or I maybe like Brett Booth on the artwork when it comes to Flash a little bit more. I don't know, but there's something off about this artwork. And we wind up seeing Mina winds up going, and she runs into Wally West, and she's like, I know you have the Speed Force going in you, and so let's train you. So Wally kind of doesn't trust her, or he doesn't trust the whole going into the training facility or whatnot. So what he does is he sits there and he trusts Mina, and he trains with her. And so he trains, and you get to see this whole thing go on with them training, and it's a page of training, and then it's another page of training, and then they go and they save somebody, and you wind up seeing that they save some people falling from the building or whatnot. And so it's like, it spends like half the issue with her and Wally. I thought this was Barry's day off, not Wally's. So I guess it just means Barry's day off by him just not being in the comic book. It's more about Wally, about his thoughts of being a speedster and being trained and whatnot. So if you care about this version of Wally from the New 52, you're going to like this issue. For me, I thought I didn't really care so much about him. So what happens now is we wind up seeing the facility being breached by Godspeed, and he's trying to take all their speed away. So there goes my theory about the girlfriend being Godspeed, because they're in front of each other here. And so what happens is Barry winds up getting called, him in August, and they wind up going to the end of the issue, and they go to the facility, and they wind up she's being taken away. And the other two speedsters there, they kind of look dead to me. So what happens to the girlfriend? Who knows? Where is Godspeed? Who knows? But I just thought, I don't know. I just wasn't expecting Wally to play such a large part in this, and it felt more filler to me than anything when it comes to this book, because it was just like, all right, well, what are we going to do for an issue? You know, well, we're going to train Wally for a little bit. So, I don't know, guys. I've been on the fence about this. I'm going to leave this one up to you. Pay it or slay it. I know a lot of people have enjoying Flash, but some people feel like this story has been drawn out as well, which Rebirth, I think, kind of suffers from, a little bit of drawn-out stories. So I'm not going to say pay it. I'm just going to say on the fence about it, I guess, because I switch each and every time. So I'm not sure if I'm going to hold on to it or not. We'll see where this one actually goes. All right, next is Snot Girl, issue number 2. Now, this book could have went in 2 different ways. It could have went in this way where she is this blogger and she winds up getting this mysterious medication to help her snot and her allergies, and it winds up she gets this telekinesis type of powers, because in the end she winds up panicking and she kills her friend that she made. Or was it she just legitimately slipped on some pills and that was it? Well, let's just say it did not go the cool direction. It went in the other direction, where her friend actually slipped on the pills and she winds up getting killed. So what happens is she winds up going in this complete paranoia, and she winds up going, oh my God, it's my fault. The cops are going to go after me. I should call 911. And she doesn't. She doesn't call 911. She just is just kind of in denial of the whole thing. And she sits there and she winds up going in incognito. She wears like these undercover clothes, and she tries to hang out with her friends, but her friends are not, you know, they don't understand what's going on, and it's their intern is trying to help her out, and she's like, oh, thank God for my intern, because if it wasn't for my intern, everything would crash and burn. And it was just like this whole level state of paranoia, and it was so just not the book I was anticipating. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God. And her friends come across the girl that she killed. She's like, oh, who's this blogger? She's like, it looks like you would be best friends with her. And she's like, how don't you know this? And she's like denying the whole thing. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm holding my head. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, why am I reading this book? Like, why am I doing it? Why am I reading this book? And I'm sitting there, and she has her little friend with these sunglasses that come over. I forgot what the hell her name was. And she's just like, oh, yeah, you know, why are you dating this guy? I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, why am I reading it? And then it happens. And then it happens again. The ending. The ending got me sucked in, because she winds up getting this text message from the person that she supposedly killed. And it's like, what? It's Cool Girl. How can that be? And so you're kind of left at the end going, okay, now who's sending her this text message? Like, is it a fake? Who has her phone? Like, what's going on? And then you get introduced to the cop at the end, who is in fashion himself too, which I didn't like. And we wind up finding out that they're digging the dirt on Lottie Persons here. And I'm just like, fucking A, god dang, Snot Girl, why do you gotta have a good ending? Because it doesn't make me want to slay it. It makes me want to read it. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm reading Snot Girl. It's everything I hate in a comic book. These fashion girls, these social media, this just like blase bullshit and drama, but yet I want to know who the person is at the other side of the phone sending her those text messages. And I want to see if they actually incarcerate her and what happens to her snotty ass in jail. And that's why I want to continue reading it. So, in the end, if you're a fan of mysteries, right, I say, pay for it! Next, we're going to go on to Venom Space Knight. Venom Space Knight was a nice surprise because this is a book that's getting back to its roots, kind of. In this issue, we wind up seeing who on there? Look, Spidey. Spidey and Venom. When was the last time that you actually saw that actually happen? You got the other characters in there doing some kind of, finding some purify thing to help Flash with his whole symbiote bullshit. I didn't care. Flash, on the other hand, winds up going back to Earth. He goes to visit his mom. He has to find this other girl that has a piece of the symbiote to make him complete again, to make him whole so he can control the symbiote. So after a brief little visit with his mom, which was really nice, we wind up seeing that someone is watching Flash. And the next thing you wind up seeing is that it's Spider-Man, and it sends Venom off. And you wind up seeing this battle commence between the two characters that we haven't seen in forever. And you get to see Peter Parker Industry Spider-Man come with his freaking spider jet, and he holds him in this cage. But the cool thing about this is the way it was drawn, it didn't look like Peter Parker Industry Spider-Man suit. It looked like a more traditional suit. And just when he has him captive, and Spider-Man says, listen, I got to get this symbiote away from you. It's not good for you. The next thing you wind up seeing is a whole battle commence. Flash tries to sit there and tell Spidey, listen, Spidey, this is not what's going on. He's like, it's my friend, and this and that. And the next thing is the symbiote is just angry with it, and he starts fighting and battling Spider-Man. The art was gorgeous. You get to see the suit tear. It just kept on going and going. I mean, this was just an awesome looking issue. It was balls to the walls action, non-stop fun. Freaking Venom is so overly exaggerated, it's not even funny. But in the end, we wind up seeing that that the symbiote didn't remember that it was a host to Spidey until Spidey reminded it of him, and he goes, "You are a host." And the next thing you wind up doing, he goes, well, welcome back. And it winds up sucking him in. And he winds up, looks like that Spider-Man's going to be a temporary host to this Venom creature now. I thought this was awesome. It was so much fun. It just relived some nostalgia for the two characters that we haven't seen in a long time. Even though it's been overdone 100 times, you know, it still was a great read. And I had a lot of fun. And again, this character is going back to its roots. So where you see some Marvel characters going further and further down the spectrum of where they used to be, this is a character that's becoming more of what it was. So even though it may not be have a host and it's kind of acting on its own, it's still the more traditional, raged out symbiote that we once knew, and now it's interacting with Spider-Man, which I think is awesome. So in the end, if you haven't tried it yet, I would say go back about 5 or 6 issues and go pay it for Venom, the Space Knight. Alright, next we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman issue number 5. Now, Wonder Woman's a good story. This one has to deal with Wonder Woman going back to trying to find the mascara. She teams up with the Cheetah in this issue, and we get to see some of the other sides about the whole thing going on with Steve Trevor and having him get rescued. This book is absolutely gorgeous. The artwork is second to none. Some of the best artwork that I've ever seen by Liam Sharp, and the colors complement it so well with Lauren Martin. I think it's absolutely gorgeous in here, and it's just really nice to get to see all these flashbacks and everything else. And you wind up seeing Wonder Woman really explain here to Cheetah about what has happened and how she can't get back to Themyscira and how certain things are different. When I talked about the artwork in here, it's just a mythological world that's just the greatest imagination, and I absolutely loved it. And I can't wait to see where this story actually goes. In the end, you wind up seeing Steve Trevor. He's actually captured, getting ready to do some kind of ritual. So if you're a Wonder Woman fan, you gotta be loving Greg Rucka's art or Greg Rucka's work on this book. I think, though, however, the year one story is better than this story, especially if you're still learning about the character. But in the end, I gotta say, that's right. Pay for it, guys. Pay for Wonder Woman. DC Rebirth overall has been absolutely phenomenal in most cases. So definitely pay for Wonder Woman. All right. Next, we're talking about Grim Tales of Terror. This is a series where you can pick up on your own. You know, if you think a story you might like, you go ahead and pick it up, because these are all one-shot stories. And this time around, it has to do with the hitchhiker, and the vanishing hitchhiker. And in this story, what I liked about this one this time around is it had to do more with death. She was more of a character, more of a presence in this issue than in some of the previous issues of this book. I felt like she had a more role in here in setting the tone for the book and setting the story about this hitchhiker and these two brothers that, I guess, abused her or whatever the case may be. You wind up seeing this story about this guy who had this tow truck, or he had his truck that vanished off the road, and he had this tow truck that came, and in the end he winds up getting captured by the story that was told for him. Overall, I thought the story was kind of weak. The tale itself on how this creature took the hitchhiker away, but it was okay. I mean, you find out that this guy, you know, took advantage of people and molested people and whatnot, but it made it just okay. But again, what I liked about it was the main character, which was Death, who had a major presence in the story and in telling the story, which how these Grim Tales of Terrors really were originally about her telling the story, and they kind of got away from that, but they're bringing that back now. So in the end, you know, you make the decision on where you want to buy for this series. It's a one and done thing, so I'm not going to say pay it every issue. You kind of pay as you go type of thing. So yeah, Grim Tales of Terror, issue number 11. All right, last but not least this week, we got a new number 1, and that is Blue Beetle, Rebirth, issue number 1. Now, I was kind of excited about this. However, the new 52 Blue Beetle series was weak, and I canceled, or I stopped reading it after issue number 3. In this issue, I was hoping for something better. You wind up seeing our Blue Beetle character wind up fighting some miscellaneous thugs in the beginning, and I was just like, okay, we'll see where that goes. But the character's name is Jamie Reyes. Isn't that the same name as Ghost Rider from Marvel? Or very similar? So I was kind of scratching my face on that one going, what? What am I reading here? So as I go along, I noticed that this book, for me, the panels seemed very confusing. They show some kid in there with a Batman shirt. You get this introduction to his sister for one panel. You get an introduction to his mom for one panel. And it's kind of like, why? Why are we introducing these characters when we're not going to see them anymore in this issue at all? We wound up getting to see a couple of his friends. They argue, which was very annoying. And they spent the whole issue freaking arguing with each other. I'm like, okay, why are we arguing? Is it supposed to be funny? And so the next thing you wind up finding out is you wind up seeing that Jamie gets a call from Ted Kord, right? I think that's who it was. You know, the guy that he works for, Mr. Kord. And so what happens is he winds up calling him, and he's got this battle that he's got to do, and he winds up getting, he looks like this, and I'm just like, what am I reading? I'm like, okay, now they're attacking some dollar cafe. There's this fight going on against these weird B-rated villain characters, these like meta-humans. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is that he winds up, I guess, saving the day, kind of. And he's like, oh, come on, we got to go back to the secret headquarters. And he's like, we got to compare notes. And the whole time it's clearly made out that this kid doesn't want anything to do with being the Blue Beetle. So why can't Mr. Kord just take the scarab off of him? Like, I don't get it. And so the next thing I wound up finding out is I'm reading it, and I'm like, huh, this looks familiar. This looks straight out of the freaking Rebirth issue. Like, this is complete filler. I'm like, this is filler in a Rebirth book. Okay. Let's take that out. We don't need that page because I already read that page. I don't need to know that he doesn't want to be the character anymore and that he has to go back to school, right? Yeah. So we see him fly away, and look. Oh, Dr. Fate shows up again. Oh, that's another filler. Let's take that out of there, too. Okay, so now I got 2 pages that I don't need because I already read that in the Rebirth book. So in the end, we wind up seeing that Jamie's little friend is related to, I guess, a evil villain that has light-up eyes, and she gets mad, and she's like, oh, send those metahumans in there again, and let's find out what's going on. I don't know. It's, Really? This book was dumb. This book just lacked plot, lacked character development. It showed us shit that we already saw in the Rebirth special. You know, this was a complete bomb. This was a bomb of a book. And in the end, guys, this one gets the sleigh. That's right. It goes in the sleigh machine, in the actual cutting shears, and we're going to get it. If I can do it on camera right now. It's not cutting. It's not cutting. I'm going to slay it. I'm going to do it because I can. Blue Beetle's fighting me. There it is. The sheer scale. Because I can't do it in the camera. But nevertheless, that was the book this week that I had to slay. Definitely don't buy that book. I think that is one of the worst books from DC Rebirth that has come out. I will not be picking up issue number 2 or issue 1 when it comes out, whatever the case may be. So there you have it, guys. In the comments below, now it's your turn to sit there and put which books you would want to pay for this week and which books you would want to slay. Maybe some of the books that are in between that you're thinking about dropping. And guys, hopefully you enjoyed episode number 2 of Pay It or Slay It with Mike Spider Slayer. And fans, as always, thank you for watching Comic Frontline. If you want to find out my top 5 books of the week, you can watch Comic Frontline Live that airs every Tuesday night at between 9:45 and 10 p.m. right here on this channel with me and the other group. So again, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next comic book review. Bye.